Hey, good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Mark Hamlin here, and I'm going to take you through. We're talking about shop floor operations, but really, what we're going to go through is a bit of the manufacturing stuff that you need in Business Central. What you need in your shop operations, but we can provide it in Business Central. So, what we're mostly going to cover today is shop floor insight, but I am going to talk about a few other things. So, shop floor insight is just one part of the manufacturing process that you have from a technology perspective. So there's a whole bunch of other things around that manufacturing process that we need to deal with. So again, the first thing is we're going to do some planning, and that's where you use the enhanced planning pack. And again, that's the enhanced planning pack is sort of the subscription version, the paid version. But one of the tools in there, that enhanced planning worksheet, is free. And that's really what you want to do your production planning. So you're going to go in there, you're going to run MRP, MPS with the enhanced planning worksheet. If you get the enhanced planning pack, it's got a lot of analysis tools, variance analysis and things like that you can use after production is completed to figure out, did you do well or not? Okay. Now, once we've planned everything, we've got our production orders and purchase orders, everything else, we're going to send that out to schedule, because now, Business Central doesn't do a great job of scheduling. What we want to do is figure out how we're going to actually send that out to the shop floor. So we've got the two options there. The first is the free graphical scheduler. So as soon as I've created my production orders with a plan, firm planned, released, I can go in, I can view them, I can drag and drop them, I can change colors based on the status, whatever you want to do. And I've got a nice manual scheduling tool, right? So at least for visualization, seeing what your facility looks like with those production orders, great tool. But dragging and dropping sucks. Who wants to sit there all day and drag and drop? So instead of that, you can go to MX APS. And MX APS is, APS is Advanced Planning and Scheduling. I like to call it Automated Production Scheduling, because that's what it does. I hit a button, or I have it in the job queue, so it runs every morning at 7 a.m. or whatever. And I get a schedule I can actually execute on the shop floor without having to drag and drop a bunch of times, because it's going to look at my capacity, it's going to look at my labor, my material availability, my tooling, any constraints you want to throw at it, and it's going to generate a schedule that you can actually run on the shop floor without messing around with it. Okay, so great tool if you need that sort of level of automated scheduling. If you just want to drag and drop, hey, that's completely free. Plug it in, away you go. Now, once we've scheduled it, obviously, we're going to go out into the shop floor and execute it. We're going to focus on shop floor insight. But there's a few other things on the execution side that we don't have on this thing. One is maintenance, right? We can do, we've got a maintenance manager solution, which allows you to do preventative maintenance scheduling, break fix scheduling, well, not really scheduling, but break fix management, those sorts of things on your production assets. So that's great. And what's nice about that is if you use the maintenance manager, the MX APS will actually schedule that maintenance in along with production to ensure that it's least disruptive to production as possible. Okay. And then quality inspector is another one that we're not showing on here, but that's quite often something you need to capture on the shop floor is quality information, measurements, pass, fail, all sorts of different things. So we can do that within shop floor insight, or you could use a separate user interface, like walk around with a tablet, or it might go to a metrology lab or something for measurements, whatever you need to do there to capture that quality information as well. And as a side note, Microsoft, the Business Central, will have a core quality module coming out. They call it quality management early in the new year. That's actually a subset of our solution. So they've licensed our quality management solution for Business Central directly, just a subset of that. And the last one we've got on the execution side is something called Safety Logbook. It's a free app, and it's just really there to capture HSE events like spills or injuries or certifications and things like that. So a great little free tool that's very handy. All right, now the real purpose of Shop Floor Insight is to capture what's happening on the shop floor. So that can be labor, consumption, output, all of those sorts of things. And we want something like that to be able to capture that information in real time, because we're going to feed that back into Business Central in real time. So the next time we run that schedule, we know what occurred on the shop floor and we're going to generate a schedule again that we can execute without messing around with it. Okay. Now, after we've, sort of planned it, scheduled it, executed its inventory, we need to get it out the door. So you can use some of our, sort of inventory management tools like the fulfillment worksheet to tell us what we can ship today, Warehouse Insight, or WMS Express, which is the free version, to scan barcodes, to pick and ship and all those sorts of things. And then finally out to Dynamic Ship, which is the subscription product, like the paid product for shipping. So we have Order Ship Express, which is free if you're doing domestic parcel shipments. If you need to do things like LTL and multi-carrier rate shopping and packaging and all that kind of fun stuff, you'd want Dynamic Ship, and you can get the stuff out the door. All right, now those are the basic applications here for manufacturing. There's a question on PDM. We don't have a PDM or PLM integration. There are apps out there that can do that, and that sort of sits outside this sort of workflow here that we're talking about from planning and all that. So that's more BOM design and BOM management. We don't provide those tools. All right, now that's okay. So that's all the goodies that we have for manufacturing. What we want to focus on a little bit today is the shop floor insight. So just a few quick things. I'm not going to go through all these in detail, but some of the things I won't show, I'll mention is, we can do things like time and attendance. So if you want to capture when people log in the morning and then when they leave at the end of the day, and automatically deduct break time and all that kind of fun stuff, and then calculate overtime, double time, those sorts of things, and then ship it off to your payroll system, we can do that. It's optional, it's in the system, but we can do all of those sorts of things in shop floor as well. It's predominantly used for, sort of capturing the information on the shop floor, more for, the production side of the business, but we can use it for payroll as well. And so there's a bunch of user interfaces I'll go through here in a bit, a whole bunch of goodies that you can do with shop floor insight. All right, now, how do you run it? There's a few different ways you can deploy shop floor insight. The most common one is, fixed terminals. So you have kiosks out there. If you have a laptop on a desk by the work center, tablet on the, screwed to the wall, those sorts of things. So the fixed terminal where people walk up and they're going to share that terminal and, use the touch screen or scan in and out and those sorts of things. And that's quite often the way it's done. And if you do that, it can be a standard PC. So you got a bunch of old Windows 10 laptops or PCs out there, throw them out in the shop and away you go. Or Chromebooks are pretty popular because, shop floor just runs in a browser. So Chromebook is great. They're low cost. You can get them without any fans, so no moving parts, which means, they're not going to clog up in dusty environments, things like that. They've got a keyboard, all that kind of fun stuff, $150 or whatever, and away you go. Tablets, phones, and scanners are also an option. So we have an interface for tablets, we have interfaces for phones, and we can integrate that with Warehouse Insight. So if you're using our WMS solution, you can run it on scanners as well. So you've got all your inventory management and your labor management all on one device, if you like. All right. Now, if you're going to do a fixed terminal, here's just a, at the time this picture was taken, that terminal had been in place for like 12 or 13 years. It's been there for almost 15 years now, and or more than 15 actually. But they're just running a little thin client, and a screen, and they've got a laminated sheet of standard barcodes, and they also scan their shop traveler as they're working. So, they fabbed an aluminum case here for it, but, basically we've got a screen out there with a little barcode scanner, and that's really all they need. Okay, now the other option, one of the other options is the personal device interface. So it's just, typically would run on a phone or a scanner or a tablet or something like that, that allows you to, clock on by swiping on or tapping. Gives you a lot of the same capability we have in the full user interface, like consumption, output, all of those sorts of things on a personal device. So where this might be handy is, if you have very mobile workers that are moving around all the time, or if you're doing, something outside, you're recording time against projects in Business Central, because we do support projects, production orders, and service orders and non-productive time and fixed assets. So we support all that for time capture. This personal device interface only works with projects and production orders and non-productive time too. And then we also, at the bottom here, I mentioned we have the Warehouse Insight app. So if you're running Warehouse Insight already, or if you need Warehouse Insight, you can actually, again, run shop floor inside Warehouse Insight. So you've got the same user interface, you've got all the capabilities of Warehouse Insight, and you can now record your production activities in that same interface. All right. So if you're deploying this, those fixed terminals, and you're running on Business Central Cloud, there is one thing to note. There is, pardon me, an on-premises service required. What that means is there's a little application that runs in your environment that communicates with Business Central. So instead of having each individual terminal have to log in independently to Business Central, what we do is we have a little service that runs. All those terminals communicate with that local service. And that gives you a lot of control because that local service is the only thing that logs into Business Central. So what that means is, all those devices are only, like your terminals, are only communicating locally, and we've got one connection to Business Central. So you've got a lot more control over security, who's logging into BC, all of those sorts of things. It's a good thing to have, this little guy. Now, it's lightweight, which means, it could actually run on one of the shop floor terminals. It has to be a Windows machine. But if you've got a laptop or an old PC or something out there running on the shop, that's all you need. You can run the service on it, and it's fine. You don't need to go out and buy a server or other hardware. It can run on any device that you currently have in your network already. If you don't want to do that, you can also host this service on Azure if you prefer fully cloud and nothing on-prem. But I usually recommend just throwing it on one of the on-prem terminals or something like that, and away you go. All right, that was too technical, but that's fine. Now I'm about to jump into the demo, and I just wanted to talk about the barcodes I'm scanning, because there's a couple of different ways we can work with shop floor. One is barcode scanning, one is touch screen, and there's the swiping on the personal device, like just that type of thing. But these are the barcodes I'll be scanning as we get into shop floor. So there's a employee badge. It's generated from Business Central. You can put your logo and all that, and that's usually to identify the employees at the terminal if you're using a shared terminal. We can also integrate with things like if you have a door access card, right? They just tap their card at the terminal and log in that way, or you can have them type in their user ID instead of scanning a barcode. These barcodes here are again printed on typically a shop traveler, but they don't have to be. They could be printed on labels. They could be, if you already have some sort of identifier of the product that's moving around in the shop, you could scan that as well. So a lot of people, as an aside here, when we talk about, okay, yeah, we got the shop traveler that lists all the operations and we have barcodes for each operation, people say, well, we want to go paperless. Great, I agree. Pardon me. It's good to go paperless. The problem is, you have to have something, ideally, to track the WIP that's wandering around in your shop floor, right? So if you've got a pallet of product that's moving around in the shop, how do you know what it is? 99% of the time, you've got a piece of paper on there or a label or something to identify that WIP. Perfect. You want to go paperless, don't have a traveler, but whatever is identifying the WIP that's moving around the shop, if there's a label on it or just a piece of paper or something there to identify that WIP, if there's a barcode on it, we can scan it. And the barcoding is great because we don't make mistakes when we barcode, right? We're holding something physically and we're going beep. We've got that physical verification that we're doing the right thing. If we're using touch screens and people are selecting things from a list or typing, nobody wants to type, so don't. But if they're typing things like that, there's a lot more room for error than just going beep on a barcode. Okay, so anyway, you don't need to use barcodes, but if you do have any kind of label or paper or whatever out in the shop floor, we can scan that to track your time. All right, enough of that. Let's jump in and have a look at what this stuff looks like in Business Central and in shop floor. So I'll start with Business Central here real quick. And I'm not going to get into a ton of detail about some of this stuff. Again, you can install the enhanced planning worksheet and play with it. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail here at all, but it allows you to do a couple of things. You can run the standard Business Central MRP logic, or the more the nicer purchase planning logic. That's more meant for distribution type environments, warehousing type environments, but it works okay in manufacturing environments in a lot of cases. And the big advantage of that is you don't get a lot of junk messages like cancel this, new that, all those sorts of things. But the big advantage of the enhanced planning worksheet is it's just nicer. It gives you a lot more information about what you're trying to plan, other locations, vendor planning summaries, all sorts of goodies in there, more tools to visualize, what the system is asking you to do, and the ability to update your planning parameters right from the screen. So instead of drilling down 10 times, I can just update everything right here. So if you're used to the existing Business Central planning worksheet, you'll know some of these issues, and again, this is what you want to use. Now, after we've planned it, we're going to schedule it, because again, the Business Central is going to give us a backward schedule, and we want to kind of see what that's done. So we'll jump into the Graphical Scheduler here, and again, plug it in, completely free, and away you go. There's a good video online on our website, tons of videos on all these products if you want to jump into more detail. It shows you how to configure the views. Like I've got a fancy view here with color and work center loading and all sorts of fun stuff. That's all just configuration in these views, and there's a good video on how to do that. But what it shows me by default is it shows me, sort of all my production orders, all the relationships, and obviously there's all sorts of zooming capabilities and things like that that you can use to zoom in and all that kind of stuff and navigate. And you can drag and drop, of course. So I can take this, I can move it over. It'll reschedule all the other operations and everything else. So a good tool if you're fine with sort of that manual scheduling capability. The issue is that could result in a lot of dragging and dropping. So for example, if I go to this specific date, and you can set these presets up here yourself as much as you like. But, Business Central doesn't care about capacities, right? And so what it's done is it's scheduling everything on the same work center, same day. Like I potentially can't execute that. Maybe on a laser cutter I could, but on something like this, I can't execute this. This is not a good schedule for me to work with. Now I can drag and drop and move it around and all that kind of fun stuff. But, I don't want to sit there all day doing that unless you really like dragging and dropping, I guess. But so this is a good tool, like no doubt about it. Gives you lots of information. You can drag and drop, you can move things around, you can use it to schedule your facility. But this is a lot of work potentially doing it manually if you're getting these kinds of results from Business Central. So the alternative is, the MX APS, that automated production scheduling. So what I'll do is I'll say starting tomorrow at, let's say 9 a.m. this time. Starting tomorrow, oops, sorry, that was weird. Typed that wrong. Starting tomorrow at 9 a.m., we're going to pretend this is tomorrow's date, but starting tomorrow at 9 a.m., give me a schedule for 30 days. And then that's going to go out. It's going to take those same production orders that we just looked at, that were all scheduled by Business Central in the same work center at the same day and time, something that I couldn't say, hey, shop, here's your schedule, go do it. They'd look at me like I was nuts. We ran it through the scheduler. And what it does now is it's coming in those same orders. We'll just wait till it loads up. For April 10th, you can see it's taken all that work and it's chosen the best machine to run that work on. It's maximized our asset utilization here based on the rule I've set, which is earliest delivery. So it's going to try and get these orders done, sort of as soon as possible. And so it's scheduled all that work, and it's done some cool things like here, you'll notice we've got, 2 welding booths. And so we can do work, 2 production orders at a time because we've got the physical capacity. But here, starting around here, we lose one of our welders. So the shift changes, and now we only have 1 welder on staff. And so now we're only doing 1 production order at a time because we don't have the labor for that. So not only does it look at the capacity of the facility, it looks at my labor, my material, my tooling, all of those sorts of things to generate a schedule we can actually execute. And I know we're supposed to talk about shop floor insight, but this is very important. Like, it's pretty tough to execute something in the shop floor if you don't have a decent idea of what you're supposed to be working on. So this tool gives you what you need to work on. And then when I'm happy with it, I can activate that schedule, and now I can execute all those orders in the shop floor. Okay. Now you don't need MX to run shop floor. I don't want to give that impression. You can run shop floor without having MX. You can run shop floor without having Graphical Scheduler. As long as you have production orders or projects or jobs, depending on what version of VC you're on, you can use shop floor insight. All right, so let's look at shop floor insight because I've planned it, I've scheduled it, now I need to execute. So we're going to shop floor insight, and this is sort of the kiosk style interface where I'm going to go in and start recording my time on production orders. Okay. And the way this works is I'm going to scan my badge here to log in. I mentioned we can tap a card or something like that and type in our user ID, all sorts of different ways to log in. But typically it's going to be that employee badge. So I walk up to the terminal to identify myself because this is a shared terminal. If it was a dedicated terminal at a work center, same thing. In the morning, I come in, identify myself, and then the terminal can just stay unlocked under my user ID for the full day. In my case, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to scan my ID badge. It's busy logging into Business Central there. So everything that you're going to see on the screen is real time with Business Central. There's no extra database or anything like that, or batching or integration we need to do. It just goes direct to VC. Now, what we've got is this view based on this person that's scanned in. They see their time card for the day. I haven't done anything yet today, so it's blank. So the next thing I need to do is tell the system what I'm working on. So I'm just going to go and scan a barcode to do that. I'm going to show you the touchscreen stuff in a sec. But for now, we're going to do barcodes. So I scan a barcode, and it automatically goes in and says, okay, that barcode was for this production order, this operation, this item, all that kind of stuff. Brings it up, and I'm good to go. Okay, simple as that. And again, the default behavior, we want you to scan a barcode from shop floor insight, right? So shop floor insight generated barcode. But if you have a serial number label or just a label that identifies, the item in the WIP or whatever you've got there, we could likely scan that label that you're already using to do the same thing. Okay, regardless, I went beep, beep. I'm the Roadrunner, beep, beep, scanned my stuff, ran off, doing my work. So as I mentioned, this terminal would lock after 30 seconds or whatever it is, or I can scan my badge again to lock it, or if somebody came up behind me, they'd scan their badge and would flip to their time card. So an hour goes by, I'm done my work, I come back, I unlock the screen, and I scan the next activity that I'm working on, and it happens to be a meeting barcode. So what it did there was it automatically clocked me off that prior activity. And that's based on a setting that I've got for either my user group, my specific user, or this specific work center that I'm working at. So you can control the behavior of what this user interface does at several different levels. Okay. And again, what it did was it clocked me off that prior activity. I may not want to do that. I might be, machine operator. I can run 3 jobs, 3 production orders simultaneously. No problem. That's just a setting. I can independently manage, multiple activities simultaneously if you set that up for, this particular employee, or again, this work center, or the group of employees that this person belongs to. The other option I have is I can do batching. So I'm doing multiple things simultaneously, right? Like it's a laser cutter maybe, or a paint booth or powder coating or something like that, where I am doing 10 production orders at the same time. Or it might be something like a sawing operation, where each operation is 2-3 minutes. Well, I don't want to clock in and out every 2-3 minutes. So what I do is I scan all the production orders I'm going to be working on for the next whatever hour or 2 hours. So I scan 20 production orders in. It won't clock me off any of them. Once I'm done that work, I would clock off that batch, and it'll automatically split the time against those 20 production orders. And it does that proportionally, right? So if, let's say it's a laser cutter and some of the parts are larger than others, it will automatically allocate more time to the larger parts than to the smaller parts. Okay, so it does that automatically. So we can do that batching, what we call auto split. If I'm doing multiple production orders simultaneously, it'll split those for us nicely. All right, now this toolbox meeting that I scanned here, that's a non-productive code. And you can define whatever non-productive codes you want. And you don't have to use them if you don't want to. The value of this is it's easy to do, right? Like all I'm doing as I'm using it in this mode where it's barcode scanning is I'm just telling the system what I'm working on now. And it automatically looks after clocking me off the last one and starting the new one and everything else. So if you go to this level of detail, it gives you a lot of capabilities for reporting, how much time was spent on productive activities versus non-productive activities. And again, you can define whatever activity codes you like in here to manage your facility. All right, so that's basically it. That's the nuts and bolts of capturing labor. Now, quick aside, if I'm in here and somebody walks up behind me, they scan their badge. This flips over to Linda's interface, and she sees something a little different. I didn't talk too much about these fact boxes on the side here, but she doesn't see the same things that I saw previously. She's got some links here and a picture, and this is optionally what you could use as a touch screen. So if you still have a shared kiosk type environment where this is a shared terminal out there, if you want to do more touch screen or mouse keyboard because you don't have paper, when she's scanned in, she sees the work that's coming up at her specific work center for the next day, hour, week, whatever you want to set it to. Now, this is engineering, but that could be assembly or welding or whatever. And from this list, she can grab what she wants to work on, tap on the screen, right? So I can just tap on any of these guys, tap clock on, and start that work. And from there, it works basically the same as what we were looking at before. I can just come in here and I can search, right? Like let's say I'm looking for a specific production order number or whatever. I can just type in part of the description, part of the production order number, find it. So it gives us the tools to use if we don't want to do barcoding or if we don't want to have paper out on the shop floor. So this is one version of a touchscreen interface that you can use. Okay, so that's that. And while I'm logging in as different people, let me do this person here. So this person here is actually a maintenance technician, right? So there's a millwright or something, and these are all the maintenance orders that he has to deal with today, or whatever dates you've got specified. So this is giving us our work instructions, our documentation for doing the work, picture the asset, all those sorts of things. So if you want to track PM work, we can do that as well. So this is just a list of work he has. Now, a maintenance guy is probably going to be running around with a tablet or something to record his time and everything else. So you can get the same information on the tablet or a phone, if you prefer a phone versus a tablet, and you can have your maintenance people work in this environment as well. Now, that's all fun and games. Let's go back to me, or Mark Hansen. It's a little different. It's my evil twin, maybe, with a different last name. Anyway, so here I'm going to go back and scan in on a production order again, just to talk about some of the additional capabilities we have over here. So what we've got is, all these fact boxes that you can hide and show, like you saw with Linda. She didn't have all this stuff. You can hide or show this based on the group or the work center or the person, those sorts of things. And what I've got is the bill of materials here. This can just be for informational purposes, but I can also go in and actually record point of use consumption here. So I can tap on that button or click on it, and I can come in here and I can record my usage for all the materials, right? Obviously, you can do back flushing and all that stuff too. And the nice thing here is, if you've got lot numbers or serial numbers that you're grabbing at point of use, like I got a stack of stuff that's got different lot numbers, I just grab it and I can scan in or enter in the lot number that I'm using here. And there's also the ability to come in and choose, lot numbers and things like that. Like these are disabled, none of these guys need lot numbers, but I can choose the lot number or scan it. Ideally scanning, because then you don't make mistakes, right? But yeah, we can do the consumption here. We can also do output. And there's a few ways you can do output as well. Like I don't have to actually clock into a production order to output. I could just choose a production order from the list and output directly from that list. And the output, it's got a lot of options. If this was a final operation, I needed lot numbers or serial numbers, I could specify the lot numbers and serial numbers I'm outputting. We've got the output history here, and all of this defaults in from the production order, the location and bin, but I can change it here. I can enter scrap codes and all that kind of stuff. So I can do the output from shop floor as well. So that's kind of the inventory handling side of it. Below that, we've got our quality inspections. So I'm not going to get into this in a ton of detail, but there's good online videos on the quality inspector. But basically what it means is I can create these inspections that allow the operator to come in and record the quality information or the inspection information for a specific operation, for a specific product type, whatever you like. So, I could have, this particular work center, I might run 50 different parts through it. Well, I might have one inspection for just the work center. I could have a different inspection for every part, or whatever you want to do, right? So that'll come up based on the combination of work center, item number, operation, whatever you want to set that up for. And again, you can record that directly from the shop floor interface, or if you've got a QC guy running around with a tablet, they'll have a different interface to record all the quality information. Down here, we've got the work instructions. So these come off the routing or off the production order. So if you had customer-specific instructions, they would go on the production order, and you'd see that here along with the standard instructions for performing this work. Now, if the work instructions weren't sufficient, we've got these document links. And again, you can use our doc extender tool to easily add those. You just drag and drop them onto the item or the production order, and they'll show up here for the employees in the shop floor. So if I click on this, it's going to open up and show me, the assembly diagram or whatever document or external website or Business Central link I've got in there. Like I could click on this and maybe open up the item card right within Business Central, those sorts of things. So you can link all of that information here. Okay, so there's a lot you can do here. You don't have to, if all you care about is, just capturing labor time, you can go in and, all of these things could be hidden. And then I've just got a screen that tells me these are the production orders I'm working on, and that's basically it, right? So really depends on what you want to do. I'm just going to bring in all this stuff so I don't forget. And it gives you all the information you need. I can track labor. And one of the important things about this labor tracking that, sometimes people overlook is, the traceability. So when I went into consumption there, we've got, lot number, serial number traceability for the material. What about the labor traceability, right? If I get a warranty claim 3 months from now, and it was clearly, poor workmanship, who did that work? When did they do it? Did they record, any comments associated with that? Did they record any rework associated with that production? Right. So now not only do we have material traceability, we've got that labor traceability as well. Now, speaking of rework, let's say, and there's lots of ways you can do rework in Business Central, right? You can create new production orders, you can add new operations to a production order, those sorts of things. But let's say that this is going to be in-process rework. In other words, I did this was welding. I did this welding. I pass it off to, the next guy to do assembly or whatever, and he hands it back to me and says, "This is junk. You need to fix this." Okay. Kind of rude, but let's fix it. So first thing I do is, I clock into this because I want to track my time against this operation and that production order and everything else. But this is exceptional work. It's not my standard work, and I want to blame somebody else for me having to redo it. So what do? Is I go in and I'm going to blame, who am I going to blame? Let's blame sales today. So what I do is I scan a barcode that says, okay, this is actually rework. In other words, whatever time I'm recording on here is now classified as exceptional work, and the people to blame for it are the sales guys. They sold something I can't build or something like that. More typically it's going to be, I got the wrong drawing, like it's an engineering thing, or maybe the machine shop screwed up or something like that. So the bottom line is you can put those root cause codes there. And that's important because now we can sort of figure out where that wasted time is coming from, and what caused it. And rework is very expensive in a manufacturing environment. And if you're not doing something like this, you're not capturing that rework time. You have no idea how much time you're losing, or more importantly, how much additional cost you're incurring based on that rework. This makes it really easy to track, right? So rework, if I spend an hour on this rework, that's costing you at least 3 hours of time, right? So lots of money, because there's the hour of rework, the hour of time that I did it the first time incorrectly, that hour of time that I could have been doing something more productive, all the QC time, all the material handling time, all that kind of stuff. Rework is very expensive. This lets me track it down to a specific root cause and report on it, okay? And again, you can define whatever rework codes and root causes you want in the system yourself. Okay. And by the way, this activity button here, instead of scanning a barcode, I can, again, if I'm on a touch screen or mouse and keyboard, I can use this. I can just tap on the rework code instead of having to scan barcodes. But ideally, again, you'd scan barcodes. All right, so that's the basic interface for shop floor as far as sort of a kiosk mode. Now, I did mention, we've got the mobile device interface. So this can run on a tablet or a phone. And then we've also got the warehouse insight interface that can run on a tablet or a scanner. So you can use, if you're already using a barcode scanner for inventory management, you can go in and use that to track your labor time and things like that. But this is sort of the phone interface. So again, you can run on a tablet. I'm just doing it in the sort of emulator here instead of an actual device, but this is what it would look like on a phone. So I've got my time card here that shows me my weekly stuff, everything else. Over here, I've got my time card that's in progress. So this tells me what I'm working on. Then I've got all my production orders that I can clock in and out of. And you can set the filter on this to, filter just to a specific work center, all that kind of stuff. And if you want to use projects, I've got all the project stuff here too, right? So I didn't do projects on the other, but let's say I wanted to clock in on this particular project here. I can open it up to see the details and then just tap clock on, or I could just, basically swipe on, and that's going to clock into that activity. And if I go back and look at my time card, we can see it clocked me off this activity, and it clocked me on to that job or that project now to work on. Okay. Now on all of these, you've got the same capabilities. I can come in, I can look at the work instructions, I can do consumption, I can do output, I can add comments, all of those same sorts of capabilities that we have in the kiosk interface. I've now got on a mobile interface, and again, I can run this on a phone or a tablet or whatever I need to do to, match what the requirements are in the shop floor. Okay, so that is that guy. Now, after I've captured all this information, where does it go? Well, it goes into Business Central. So if I open up, one of the production orders, this guy here that I was working on, I can come in, and it's real time. I can come into that routing, and I can see again exactly what progress this is in, right? So what status it's in. This guy's in progress. This guy was finished. That information is coming from shop floor, either manually set to completed, or it can automatically set the status to completed based on how much of output or how much time I've put on it, those sorts of things. If I scroll over, I use this environment a lot. So we've got a lot of time cards against this thing. So this is all the time that's been put against this particular operation or these operations. And I can drill down on this. I can see exactly who's done the work, when they did the work, how much time they put on it, was any of it, rework, any of that kind of stuff right from here, right? So here's a bunch of rework time, okay? And the nice thing is in Business Central, if you want to do additional reporting, I was going to get into this later, but I'll do it here. You can do things like, hey, show me all the rework on my, that I've put in over a certain time frame or a certain production order or whatever it happens to be. So I can actually come in and drill down on the rework, who did it, what the root cause code was, all of that kind of stuff, right within Business Central using these analysis views. Okay, or how much time have I spent at the different work centers? And again, this one, because I open it up from the production order, this is all specific to the production order that we're looking at now. So I can see exactly how much time I've got on all the different pieces of equipment and who put that time in and everything else, right? So pretty cool stuff. Okay, but again, my point here was that in real time, I can see exactly what's happening with that production order on the shop floor from the production order. And there's other screens you can go to as well. So if I'm a customer service rep, yeah, I could come in here and look at this and figure out what's going on, or I can look at other pages within Business Central and those sorts of things. And again, if I'm in a production planner or something like that, and I want to look at what's going on in the shop, I can come into the analysis views here, or I can just look at the raw data and see exactly who's doing what, what they're working on, how long they've been working on it, those sorts of things. Anything that's bold here means it has a comment associated with it. So all of that is real time inside Business Central. Now, that's all good. Everybody enters their time. I can look at it, see what's going on with my production activities. All of this information also gets posted to Business Central, the normal way. Well, not the normal way. I'll show you how it gets posted, but it goes into all the normal stuff once it's posted, which means next time we run a schedule, whether it's MX APS or anything else, we've got this real-time information fed back in, detailing what we actually completed, on the previous shift or previous day. And the next schedule we run is going to take that into account and generate a schedule going forward. Okay. But after I've got all this time in, the next thing I need to do is actually go in and do some approvals. So technically the approval step is optional, like you could just rubber stamp everything, but ideally what you want to do is go in and have a lead hand or supervisor or something like that, just confirm that people didn't screw up in the shop floor, like they didn't forget to clock out or they didn't do something dumb. And the way you do that is when I open this up, I've got a few options set. I'm only seeing the people that I manage, so you can set up who reports to who within the system. And this is showing that, only the people I manage. So typically what happens is when a lead hand or supervisor logs in, if there's 10 people reporting to them, they're going to see 10 lines on the sheet, one for each person that reports to them and the time cards from their last shift. And they're going to go in and approve them. And what they're going to do is they're going to look for anything that has what we call a validation error. And that's these guys in red. Anything that's red means we got a problem on that particular time card. Okay. And what I'll do just for fun, I'm going to show open cards. And what that open cards does is this is ones that are currently in progress as well. So not just the ones that have been completed, but it's going to show us our open time cards. And the reason I did that is because we can actually see, the time card that I was working on today. So if we scroll down, we can see these are all the lines that I entered in the shop floor interface, and they have issues with them, right? This is why the time card was red up there. It's telling me, hey, I needed setup time. I didn't enter any setup time, right? And here it's saying, okay, that one's fine. This guy here, I've got no setup time or runtime. I forgot to clock off at the end of the shift. Now, it does have the ability to auto clock off at the end of the shift. So when you do this, if you want to do this prepare action, it'll say, okay, we know he works till 4 o'clock. We're going to clock him off as of 4 o'clock. Or as a supervisor, I could go give him heck and say, what time did you actually clock off? And then I can come in here and edit this entry right here if I like. Okay, so I can make the edits here as a supervisor and make sure everything's good. All of these validations that you see over here, you can choose which ones you want to apply. So if you don't care about setup time, you would turn off that validation. By the way, that setup time validation, that's only there because there was setup time actually required on here. This guy didn't require setup time, so we don't get a warning when there's no setup. Actually, this is a toolbox meeting, but you wouldn't get a warning if no setup was required. But yeah, you can turn these warnings on and off. So the idea behind this is I come in, I just look for anything that's red. I do a quick review of those red time cards, figure out if I want to approve it the way it is or not, or if I want to fix it up. When I'm done, I just select everything, hit approve, and my time card approval is done for the day. So typically, if I've got 10 people reporting to me, this is a 2-minute to 5-minute job, and I'm done. Really easy to do that approval, right? And that way, we're ensured that the information coming from the shop floor is good before it gets posted to the production orders and everything else. And to post it, this is typically not the lead hand. This is somebody in the office. They're just going to come in, filter down to the approved time cards. So anything that's approved, and they're going to hit post, and it's going to post all of this to the projects, to the production orders, to the service orders, all of that kind of stuff, all automatically. Okay, so each of these time cards will have a bunch of time on them, and those will get posted automatically to the appropriate place. Now, one other thing while I'm in here, shop floor can be used on the shop floor. That's why it's called shop floor. But you can also use it inside the office. So, for example, I can come in and I can have salaried personnel record their time for the week, and that can be sent to payroll. Or engineering is a typical time that's used, right? So as an engineer, I can have a time card within Business Central, and I can come in and I can record all my time in Business Central against whatever project or production order or whatever I like right here in BC. So it can be used within BC as well if you just want to create your time cards in Business Central for salaried personnel or part-time people, hourly people, whatever you like. Engineering, again, is a pretty typical thing in manufacturing, right? I want to record my engineering time, but they're not out on the shop scanning barcodes. So we've got a time card capability right within Business Central as well. All right, now, once I've done all that, we really looked at a little bit of the analysis stuff that you can do, but there's other ways of looking at it. Now, this is a Power BI, report here, dashboard that you can use. This we can provide to you as a file that you can implement. So it's kind of a sample that you can plug in and use it as is, or you can tailor it to do whatever you like. But it gives us, some basic analysis like productivity and the activity code. This is one again where we can go in and look at that rework, right? So if I had different root cause codes, I could drill down on this to figure out what's causing that 53 hours of rework in my environment. And a whole bunch of other goodies that are in here. And things like this, this hours by month, this is by, production order number or project. And this is showing me, sort of all that time. But I can send this out to Excel, and this is basically a pivot table. And if I want to turn this into, a machine utilization report, dirt simple. I just, instead of doing it by production order to start, I do it by work center or machine center. And now all of a sudden I've got an asset utilization report in like 3 seconds. Okay, so lots of things you can do here. And Power BI is kind of cool because I can be, you can ask it questions, right? Kind of, we're all used to AI nowadays, but this was a lot cooler a few years ago before ChatGPT came out. But I could say, what was, Robbie, we'll just give it a sec to open up. What was Robbie Dimitrich's productivity, right? So you can ask questions, and there you go. It gives me the answers. All right. Anyway, a bunch of good stuff you can do there for reporting. And there was a question on the sign up. What about downtime reporting, or OEE, right? Overall equipment effectiveness. You can do all that reporting. So with the Business Central data that's there, like the expected and our actual and our downtime reporting and everything we can do through shop floor, you can actually do complete OEE reporting from the system if you want, right? Through Power BI or through Business Central or one of the the external reporting tools that are available. If you do have any additional questions, go to shopfloor4dynamics.com, come to the main website. You can chat with us. You can check out the knowledge base. You can check out a whole bunch of additional videos that we have on shop floor and the other tools. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of the day and week.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content, and remember to hit that bell icon to stay updated. See you in the next video.